Hello and welcome to the sixth masterclass in the 100 plus masterclass series covering the critical sustainability linked topics. We are today focusing on the topic rethinking packaging for a waste free future. We all know today that single use packaging waste is combining with other powerful trends to drive major changes in the consumer packaging. Regulators are moving on the issue, and FMCG companies and retailers are proactively taking bold commitments to improve both sustainability of their packaging and to fundamentally rethink their packaging systems. We will today try and answer questions like these and uncover more about sustainable packaging solutions. We have industry experts joining today to give us insights on the topic based on their vast experience in the sector. Joining us today, we have Aline, who leads circular packaging agenda globally at AB InBev. She holds MBA and chemical engineering degrees. Aline has more than 14 years of experience in beverage industry and have worked in different areas as manufacturing, packaging, technical development, supply chain, and procurement. We also have Gopika Pawar, who is the sustainability business partner at IKEA. She joined IKEA during its inception stage in India and is working with IKEA for the last 5 years. In her current role, she is on a mission of making sustainability the new normal. Prior to IKEA, she had served in Indian Army for about 10 years and was also part of UN peacekeeping mission, being one of the civil and military coordinators. We also have Amit Lahoti, who is the managing director for Ball Beverage India and Southeast Asia. Amit holds directorship in Ball JVs in South Korea and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He is an accomplished business leader with over 2 decades experience across general management, finance, commercial and supply chain in the packaging industry. So let's start the discussion with understanding the basics of circular economy model. It is estimated that approximately $500 billion worth of economic value can be unlocked through circular economy business models in India alone. So coming to Gopika, can you just explain us what is circular economy and how it's different from the linear model?
Yes, Srina, I plan to take this question into a linear economy is an economy where um, the life cycle of an article or a product is thought from the point of manufacturing rather than point of manufacturing when the manufacture is complete and it comes to the market for use of the consumer to the end of purpose of that particular product, right? In terms of circular economy, it starts from the resources identification of a product and ends again about understanding that the end of life of that particular resource that has been used to manufacture that product. I would also like to just add on to it when it comes to how do I think and how does IKEA think about it. So we think it from the design perspective. So I think circular economy is also a design thinking where you think about the form of the product, the function of the product, the quality of the product, its cost, and the sustainable part, that how circular it can be, how can it be recycled and reused as a resource and not as a product as such. Even after end of life of that particular product, the purpose of its life, and then what happens to the materials or the resources used. Everything, I think. Right from production, taking the resources to the transportation to the end of life. That's where I think is a good.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining it so
Can
beautifully, Gopika. Yeah, I would also like to understand from Aline, like what are the different circular economy models that are available for the organizations to adopt?
Yeah, if you think about a circular economy business, the model was built to keep products and materials as in use as long as possible and getting maximum value from them. So this means that since the design of the material, as Gopika was saying, you need to rethink the way you are putting the resource out there. And this means that you can think at this moment if you want to have that resource being shared with other companies, if you want that resource to be able to be refurbished at some point and keep that in the loop as well. And you could think about, as our in a beverage company, if you can go for reusable solutions. And lastly, if you could have that back into the recycling chain, Of course, this last one is important as well for many materials, but we do believe this should be kind of a last option, as we know to be able to recycle, we should again put more value to produce and to redo that again, right? So when we set up the 2025 circular packaging goal, we had in mind we wanted to close this packaging loop and really eliminate waste. And we wanted to have either 100% of our packaging returnable or made of majority recycled content. And we believe that refillable solutions, namely in our case of the beverage industry, returnable glass bottles or kegs, are the best circular packaging solutions for a beverage industry. And to guarantee that these resources will be out of waste, we also believe that this could create a positive environmental impact, whereas if you don't include that in the loop, you will create a downside. Arguably, AB InBev is champions on refillable solutions across globally, with 36% of our volumes being sold in this type of SKUs, returnable glass bottles or kegs. But I'm very proud of India. India has almost 75% of all SKUs being sold in refillable solutions, and that's amazing and really help us to understand how to build a better circular packaging solution as well. The fact is, this model is under pressure right now, and we know that one-way volumes will continue to increase moving forward. And we truly believe that betting in increasing recycling rates and in the recycling chain is key to enable these materials to be out of waste. And this is part of our goal as well. We believe overall, like to achieve the 2025 goals, we will have to have the mindset of collaboration and work together with partners as well, for example, as other suppliers, and with the rest of the supply chain, our peers, with governments as well. We want to be sure that we are including the design for circularity in our products, that we are engaging our consumers and increasing awareness around this topic as well, and that we are collaborating the supply chain, investing in the supply chain to be able to increase this recycling rates and the recycled content. We also, when we set up the goals back there in 2018, we also had in mind that we couldn't keep doing whatever we were doing because we knew that we were not heading the right direction. So we also thought how we could increase and bring into the company this kind of disruptive mindset, these new technologies that are popping up. So we created the 100 Plus Accelerator at the time to bring this disruptive mindset to challenge us in the way we do business for the future. So to help us go into the circular economy mindset and to rethink the way we were doing for our packaging as well.
Yes, truly, we all understand the importance now and also why AB InBev has chosen circular packaging as one of the 2025 goals. Also, coming to Amit, if you can just explain from the implementation perspective, what are the factors that would be critical for acceleration of circular economy in India?
Yeah, thanks for that, and really great information, shared by Gopika and Elaine till now. And as we look at, kind of what are the factors accelerating, promoting the circular packaging as such. I think throughout the supply chain, everybody has a responsibility to play, right? From starting from the brands to the manufacturers to the retailers, distributors, even consumers have a big role to play in this. So across the supply chain, everybody has to be responsible. But for me, the thing which I want to talk about today is really from a brand and manufacturer's perspective, because a lot of, there are a lot of myths around circular packaging and circular economy. And what used to be like a linear kind of a thinking of, kind of waste reduction in usage, to what now is being talked about on circular packaging. But a lot of the terms are loosely used in terms of recyclability, but that material does not get actually recycled, to really move to a real circularity where, for instance, the products which we supply from a metal packaging perspective. Aluminum, which we use, is infinitely recyclable without loss of quality and things like that. So the real circularity definition needs to be very clear. And today, what we feel is, from a consumer point of view, the understanding is not there. And maybe the consumer today is understanding what is bad or what they need to avoid, but what is good is not being very clear. And that's where I think brands and manufacturers play a big role in terms of educating the consumers in a very clear way, not in a gimmicky way of I have this much recycle, this product can be recycled, but actually when you look at the data, the product never gets recycled because the economics associated with it does not work. So actually we have to move away from I am recyclable to what is being recycled and the economics supporting that. So brands and kind of need to play a big role there. Along with that, I think not just the brands but NGOs are putting a lot of pressure across the supply chain, right? To the retailers, to the distributors, and that's where a lot of the awareness is coming in terms of what's their big C, what is from a sustainability point of view, which a lot of that revolves around circular packaging. What are they going to do about it? So I think partnerships like this, where AB InBev and Ball have a great partnership in kind of coming together, and we're talking about a lot of things which we can do to improve, circular packaging and sustainability and things around that. And these kind of partnerships are going to be really important to kind of take away, the brands, the manufacturers come together and kind of talk to the consumers and help and educate them in terms of what is circular, what real circularity is, and how do we promote that more.
Yeah. True, Amit. And we also believe that partnerships and also consumer awareness can go hand in hand and go a long way in terms of accelerating the adoption of circular economy. Coming back to Aline, what is the current scenario for adoption of circular economy principles in processes and operations?
That I think all companies are very well timed to rethink their business right now. Circular economy is also a way to build a business for longevity, if you think, and it is a way to keep the resources that you have in your value chain. So it can be profitable as well, and it can be a differentiator to your company. So especially now that under this tough economic scenario that we are most likely heading into, companies will have to rethink their business, I believe. And if they take the opportunity to embrace the circular economy mindset, I am sure they will get in a much better position very soon. I think it is also a great time to set up ambitious goals in this sense, because there are much more technologies and companies and inventors getting to this world and helping us build these new circular economy businesses. So we had our own examples of companies helping us rethink our packaging using our own waste inside our value chain to have a better and more sustainable packaging. For example, things that are coming very soon to the market. And this was we couldn't think about something like this before in the past years. And this is because we know many companies are coming and really embracing this circular economy mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And also understanding more on this, Amit, from your side, how do you think like packaging sector can integrate the principles of circular economy?
Yeah, no, I think packaging and packaging waste is a big topic in the circular economy principle. And, I feel the packaging manufacturers, in collaboration with brands, importantly, can play a big role in this. And, maybe if I could use this to share some of the stuff which, from a bold side, what we are trying to do to make our packaging more circular and, things around that. And it's a 5-point agenda which we have kind of embarked on. And this is already on the fact that aluminum beverage cans are the most recycled container in the world, but we are not sitting on that and saying, okay, we will not sit there. We just need to go beyond that and say, how do we make our packaging more circular? So one of the things which among the 5 things, first thing is around There's ill effects associated with bauxite mining and kind of aluminum and its production. So we are working with aluminum producers and users and an initiative called Aluminum Stewardship Initiative (ASI). That's an initiative which we are rolling out in India. We will be members of ASI by the end of this year, and across Asia, we're expanding that fairly rapidly. So that's one thing. The other thing where there are alleged ineffects of the coatings which we put into our beverage cans. Some of those are epoxy coatings, where now we have a program by 2023. We will move everything to a BPA not included coating, which has cradle to cradle certification. And that again, all the things what we are throwing are here science and data backed. So it's not just gimmicky stuff which a lot of brands start to put out. We are doing stuff which is again backed by independent agencies like ASI, cradle to cradle certifications. From again, a usage perspective, we have the Star Can, which is to give you a perspective, the Star Can which we have now, and when I compare that to the can of the 1980s, there's almost a 38% weight reduction in that. So can, which was already a lightweight product, to where we are now, we have taken material out, which is less usage, so promotes circularity, a 38% reduction there. On the climate change, BOLA committed to the 1.5%, Paris Accord, which we are all working towards. And to enable that, we are looking at renewable energy. And I know even in partnership with ABI in India, we are looking at renewable energy options. And our aspiration is by 2023 again, all of our manufacturing footprints would be using renewable energy, a huge contributor into circular economy as well as reducing the big C. And the final point is around recycled content, and this is where the cans which we supply in India today has about 70% recycled content, which is already the highest among other packaging substrates. And we are working towards building that to a 90 to a 95% by 2025. So again, an aspirational target we've set ourselves there, and how do we move towards that? So that's those are some examples where we believe we have already a very strong circular package, but we are working aggressively towards wherever other scopes are there to move it towards. And I believe all of the packaging companies can adopt similar models to kind of push this forward.
Yeah, very, very nicely described how Ball is integrating the concepts of circular economy in its packaging. So it's very nice to hear about the details. And also, I would like to understand from Eline, maybe if you can just highlight what are the few fundamental changes the organizations need to bring in their DNA to truly adopt the principles of circular packaging and circular economy. And I believe here Amit has very, very nicely detailed this out.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of elements that we have as enablers to that. And quite honestly, I would start from being open, having an open mindset to embrace the circular packaging mindset into long-term strategy. And this is about getting the brands to embrace that even in their innovation pipeline, and rethinking the way they do their business, considering those circular packaging mindset, like the reusability, recyclability, etc. And thinking more outside our company, I think the most important thing is to really create those partnerships and collaboration with our suppliers, with these new suppliers that are coming to our supply chain, the peers in the industry, the governments, to enable this strategy to be settled down. So if I think about innovation, this is coming from our suppliers, this is coming from our partners outside the supply chain as well. And I think those are the two elements, if I should summarize, like you need to be open to accept and embrace innovation and collaboration as part of the path that you have to go.
Yeah, Aline, and definitely innovation is gonna drive circular packaging, and that's what would drive this entire mindset among the consumers as well. Also, just wanted to understand from Gopika, if you can throw some more lights in, like specifically in what ways can innovation be driving this circular packaging and circular economy, and what ways it will be beneficial for organization like us, if you have any specific examples to share.
But yeah, I think I'm with Eileen on this, and I think we all on the same stage when it comes to being circular and marching towards the circularity of packaging. We all want to do, but really there are not much things in there. So then the innovations come in. If we think about how we are thinking about packaging, I think we have two types of packaging. One is the ones that come from manufacturer to our warehouses and stores, which are under our control. So suppliers are ours. We give them specification of what kind of packaging we want. So there we are we can consider ourselves to be experts because we exactly know what kind of packages we can ask for, what is the cost that we can pay for. But there is another packaging aspect that comes into our business is the packaging that goes to the consumer's home. So what I was saying is that for us, the packaging comes in two parts. One is the one which is under our control, and it ends up with us. And the second one is which is again in our control to a certain extent, but it doesn't end up with us. It ends up with the consumer or the customer. So we have to think about packaging from two perspectives. One is, as I said, think that are we are recycling those packages. It ends up in our operation, it goes back to our suppliers. So there we kind of consider ourselves to be masters. But the challenge remains when it comes to consumers, and the packaging also has to provide equal wow effect to the consumer, the equal experience that the consumer gets, and the consumer is seeing a normal other packaging, a beautifully packed product. There we look for innovations, and innovations that sustain are the one which cater for the requirement, and innovations which are scalables are those who need the necessity.
True, Gopika. Coming back on the Indian scenario, Indian context, Amit, if you can explain how the complex value chain that exists in India is limiting towards circular packaging, or maybe just highlight few points how what role can stakeholders play to address this complexity?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, from India perspective, I think, people obviously look at India as one big country. And, sat here, India is a big market I look after. And I always look at India as 29 different countries because each of the states has its own regulation, especially around, alcobev markets, which I know ABI, kind of work in. So it's really a complex stakeholder, kind of management, and how do we work around that, because a single solution does not work everywhere, and that's where the complexity comes from. So really what we are looking at from an Indian perspective, I think I would start maybe from the government side, and kind of what can be done, and really easing of regulation, and what has happened over the past few years since the introduction of GST. That has simplified a lot of kind of the movement of goods, and but still a lot of the regulation are different by state, and standardizing some of that, especially around promoting circular economy and circular packaging in particular, that's going to ease a lot of the constraints what we have. The example which I always get kind of probably throw out is I compare India to maybe a country like Brazil, and again a large country with complex dynamics. But if you look at the waste collection and the management, what happens there, and I know in partnership, with Ball, AB InBev, and Novelis, we've been able to establish a very good closed loop collection system, and that's what is needed in terms of establishing similar kind of things in India. And our estimates are the collection today happens, but it's so much through an unorganized sector, and that's where the government can play a role of maybe bringing more regulation, more kind of structure around this, which will enable waste management companies to come in and operate and ensure that the lives of the waste collectors or people who are involved across the supply chain is a lot more kind of easier and streamlined, and that kind of gives kind of employment and all of that as well. The other thing which I probably kind of from a complexity of the system, and I know Prime Minister Modi has already made announcements around banning single-use plastic and kind of working around a really good, robust EPR, extended producer responsibility norms, and introduce that across India. And that will be a real welcome change from our side in terms of from a complex system, how do you bring, and that will bring in responsibility of on packaging manufacturers like ourselves if those EPR norms are introduced, and would balance the scale a bit more in terms of today packaging being used one way and not being collected and recycled. That balance would be restored. So those are some examples where kind of I feel that complexity can be overcome. And finally, I would come back to and I've mentioned this in all my questions, so probably sound like a broken record, but this is going to be all about private partnership in terms of brands, manufacturers working in this case with the government, and all of that chain coming together, because there is not one single part of the value chain which can unlock this. It is going to be a partnership across the value chain, which is going to kind of ease some of the complexity on this and unlock some of the benefits which the circular packaging can offer.
Yeah, surely, Amit. And just understanding more about how this complex system exists in India, and also how extended producer responsibility can help solve the problem, as you rightly mentioned, because that's where would the game can change. That's where the onus will lie on us, and we can go and beyond what we are doing right now. Uh, Gopika, extending the same question to you, maybe if you can help give a context of how does the extended producer responsibility can further help solve this problem to large extent. And I think Amit has very well explained that this is one thing that we need to do as a country, and it is we as a country is going in that direction. Would redirect this question to Amit and Aline if you want to throw some light on this topic, and maybe wanted to hear from you both on how EPR is going to be one of the key aspects that would help us.
Yes, we see across the globe how EPR can support in this journey, and definitely this is maybe the fastest way to get things in place and get the recycling chain really working in the sense. So EPR definitely will contribute, and we see that in the countries where we implemented that in the right way, recycling rates are extremely high. It didn't implicate in extra costs into the supply chain as well. So it implicated in extra resource coming to the supply chain. So if you're doing the right way, it can be really the game changer of the circular packaging challenge. And we are very supportive in all the countries. We have these conversations going on. In some, we are leading the conversations, and we expect these to enable us to get into our 2025 goals as well.
Yeah, if I may just add, on Aline's point, and I think the key word I picked up from there is EPR norms being implemented in the right way, because we've seen it both ways, I guess, Aline, right? Saying it being implemented in the right way and not so right way, right? So, and really the challenge, what I see, not just from India, like maybe one of the other countries which I look after, is Vietnam, and right now they are going through a process of bringing the EPR norms in, and I really see the trick there is having extensive stakeholder conversations, and kind of ensuring all the parts of the supply chain are being appropriately represented. Because in some other places, what we have seen is a directive coming right at the top, and then the implementation is left with the industry or the stakeholders, and that's something which can really be avoided. And when you see banning of a particular pack format, or restricting that is never useful for whoever is involved in the supply chain, whether it's one pack format or the other. Extensive consultation and thought through implementation is going to be really the key for implementing any PR norm. And we would, of course, welcome that from a, India perspective to be, kind of implemented that over the years.
Yeah. As you rightly mentioned, that there are various stakeholder consultations are very important when we look at EPR implementation. And here in India, those conversations have already started, and we see a lot more progress these days. And we are very hopeful that a clear EPR norm would come into the picture, and we would be able to progress in those directions. But also at the same time, in the Indian context, we see that there are various challenges with respect to the unorganized sector being a part of this whole waste collection thing. So their implementation of this EPR is not just to be there at the upper part of the section, but it has to percolate down to that level, and they should also be a part of the entire conversation that is ongoing. So it will really help in making the EPR rule or the norm very extensive and actually get the benefits out of it, because we don't want something to be there but actually not there at ground level.
Hi, Sugandha. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Gopika, we can hear you.
Okay. So sorry for the internet trouble. Sometimes internet just plays up, I was working. So I think for EPR, I think I am very positive about regulation like EPR, I would say. Like EPR, why I'm saying is because I look at it as a kind of tool for the country to increase the awareness and implementation of circularity. Okay. So when you look into the EPR, it is very nicely designed, right, from the policymakers to, to the collection vendors, to corporations like us. And it kind of enhances the role that big organizations like ABN, Bev, and IKEA work towards, who want to bring in sustainability and have sustainability in their DNA, and kind of promote the same behavior for other organizations, which are, either sitting on the edge or are, striving to make it happen, and probably are still emerging the concept within their organization. Uh, yes, EPR also has given or has shifted the focus to the unorganized sector. Till date, I am talking about India, till date, the unorganized sector was working, was functional, was giving economical opportunity to people. But I think now it has surfaced. Now people have started talking about that. Collaborations are happening, like you and me are talking here about it. So I think it is just the beginning, and I would like the country to progress not only for the electronics or the plastic packaging, but also in other aspects as well. And here, where Eileen just talked about collaboration. Here is the tool where makes all of us come together to collaborate with each other, because we know that the consumers that we target, our market segments, kind of cross over. We target the same person for a beverage or the same person for home furnishing, if we are talking about ABN there and IKEA. And this, if I am able to motivate that person using my commercial opportunities and my resources, for example, the IKEA Better Living Challenge that we have, where we talk about segregate waste and save water and this and that, and then other companies also join in, where we collaborate. And on top of it, when the government is also setting such policies where if the consumer is segregating waste, is segregating plastic from cardboard, and the person knows that this is going back to the economy, I think it will create tremendous wave in the market. And I think future generation will have it as a habit, will not need motivation from sustainability enthusiasts to segregate and recycle, and they'll ensure, they'll read read on the packages that where is this coming from and where is it going. And it will be a long journey, but I think it's a good start. We'll see this in next few years. I am very positive, and I look forward for more regulations like EPR which will support sustainability. So I'm positive.
Yeah, Gopika, absolutely. We are on the same side and we are working towards the same goal. So, taking this forward, Aline, coming back to you, In what ways you think that system level approaches, including collaborations and partnerships along the value chain, as we all are talking about it, is gonna make packaging sector more sustainable? And if you have any examples to highlight here.
Definitely. And I do believe these are the key enablers to circular economy overall. Innovations and partnerships are definitely the key elements. I'll jump into the examples that I think can illustrate a little bit of what we are doing and how we are working in partnerships with our suppliers in our supply chain to find a way into our circular packaging. So from our supplier sides, I think you might have seen, or if you can search for that, the partnership between Michelob Ultra and Rio Tinto for the low carbon can sheet. This is a big win for us. This is important for our circular packaging goal, as well for our climate action goal, that is to reduce 25% of our carbon emissions by 2025. So extremely relevant. And on that same sense, thinking about glass, we just recently saw one of our most important suppliers of glass pushing invest in solar panels into their facilities to reduce their carbon footprint as well. And this is for us extremely important and impactful. Thinking more like on the sense of disruptive innovations and entrepreneurs that I mentioned before, we had a great example last year in a work in partnership with Earthos. They helped us to pilot in India for the first time the usage of barley waste to produce a bioplastic that is biodegradable in your home garden, for example. So they pilot together, and I was leading the team locally together with them. And we are very proud. This is a new technology. We are learning as well this new technology and understanding where we should apply. Of course, we always keep in mind we should first try to reduce, to reuse, to recycle, and lastly, really rethink other type of materials. But we believe this is the way moving forward as well for some cases. And we had a great example in with the startups as well, coming from green mining. Green mining is a blockchain solution that helped us to map our supply chain and where we were consuming glass bottles, and understanding where we could and should focus our collection efforts. So they helped us to figure out where we had most concentrated areas of glass bottles, set up the operations to collect it back. They hired recyclers that were working in the streets in informal waste collection to be part of their team. So they hired people and formalized their jobs to be part of this collection project. And they helped us to ship all these collection back into our glass plant to be recycled. So great partnership that just started with this one project, and now we continue the partnership. Green Mining is it's an amazing partner that is now helping us to implement a recycling container in some island paradise where we collect the community waste, recycle and sell it to tourism and into other recycling facilities as well. So they are helping us clean as well the places where we find hard to collect and ship back into recycling centers. They're helping us do this recycling right there. So very exciting things we are finding through these partnerships. And of course, this is just a couple of examples. I think things are happening across the globe. As Amit mentioned before, like there is no one global solution. We are really trying to map those local solutions that we can do together with local partners, and will help us to get into our 2025 goals.
Yeah, absolutely, Aline. And also to add on to that point, I would also like to highlight the various innovation hubs or accelerator program that we run. We definitely look for startups and innovation to help towards this partnership and collaboration. We are looking for the innovation in this sector, which will help drive in identifying which are those alternatives that can help us and help in changing or transforming the packaging to a whole new level. We want to make it more sustainable, more recyclable, so that we move towards a path which is not just helping us achieve our 2025 goals, but is also contributing in much larger way towards the sustainable development goals. Yeah, and we are coming towards the end of our session. I would like to ask Gopika about what are the key challenges that exist in the Indian context, specifically that limits the adoption or internalization of circular economy. Do you have any suggestions on changing the scenario or for working towards a waste-free future? So maybe we can redirect this question to Amit and Gopika. You can stabilize the connection and we can come back to you.
Yeah, I think from an Indian context, what's going to enable the circular packaging and circular economy bit? I think from playing the government plays a big massive role, and we've talked about that. The brands and the manufacturers, and we've talked about that. I think maybe if I could also kind of say from a consumer side, and I think. Uh, the consumer also plays a huge important role in terms of one having a real understanding of kind of what circular packaging is, what packaging formats kind of lead to a circular economy, and then really kind of from a behavioral way kind of going towards it. With COVID, we are seeing kind of behavior patterns changing, and kind of from a beverage packaging point of view, kind of we looked at the Nielsen survey recently, and there were three clear trends which were emerging. One was around health and wellness, one was around the local, rather than global, and then the third was around sustainability. And I think those are all three very, very relevant, kind of topics emerging. So you can see from a circular economy point of view and what the consumer behavior is lending towards that of maybe using more local products versus global, kind of globally sourced products, using more sustainable packaging versus non-sustainable packaging. So I think, yeah, as the consumer awareness grows, I think in combination with some of the brands and kind of what is being done, I think that will ultimately lead further kind of use of circular packaging and leading to a circular economy that way.
So yeah, just adding on what you just mentioned, Amit, I think that from Indian perspective, there are three main challenges. Firstly, we are still, trying to bring the environment on the agenda everywhere. We are trying, so we are on our way there. I think second is the linked industry is being resilient. We are able to link industry in terms of packaging, but we still have to look for collaboration. Still have to look for people who will accept recycling as recycled packaging as part of their manufacturing product process. We still have to look for aggregators who can give us not contaminated packaging material to be recycled. So I think the resilience of this linked industries, which will close the loop, kind of becomes very, very important. It becomes important again. It links back to collaboration towards identifying such industries. Giving a good solid example that where we can stand if we are resilient together, and then kind of scaling up that connection to others and by other industries. And third is, I believe, the awakening of the customers or awakening of the demand again, making the requirement more stronger and making it a necessity. It is still seen as good to have by the consumers, and till the time we are not able to encash the population mindset, the asset that we have as India, and if we are not able to create that kind of awareness amongst our consumers until the time consumers don't demand this from the government and from the industries, it will still remain a challenge. But yeah, I see that it is also an opportunity for us and the government to efficiently control the life cycle through linked industries becoming more resilient and consumer awareness becoming more resilient and strong, as well as bringing environment to the agenda every time that we talk about, not just by people like us are working for organization. But I think somewhere we need to encash our strength, which is population and the mindset. That's it.
Yeah, rightly mentioned, Gopika. So organizations that are willing to innovate and reinvent themselves may identify new business models and gain a competitive advantage over their peers. So rightly said, absolutely. Aline and Amit, if you have any closing points to this very interesting conversation that we had, I think we can go on and on about the topic that we are close to, but I think we need to close this discussion. But we'll definitely be in touch with all of you, and see how the development goes forward. So over to you, Aline and Amit.
Sugandha, thank you so much, and I really appreciate to be able to be here today with Paul and Ikea. It was an amazing conversation, and as you mentioned, we could go on and on. Like we were talking about EPR, and I was thinking about informal waste collection and how we can support them as well, like how to professionalize that as well. So we can go on, and maybe we can stop here and get in touch another time. But I really want to thank you for the opportunity. It was amazing to be here together with them.
Yeah, and likewise from my side, Sugandha, first of all, you've been a great host, so thank you for that, and thanks to ABI, and great listening to Alina and Gopika as well, and their views. Really, fantastic to hear some of the very interesting views. So again, really thankful and privileged to be part of this conversation.
Gopika, any closing lines from your side?
Yes, I think I really appreciate the concept of the masterclass, and if possible, let's elaborate it further together, because it's helpful for all of us. And I think as we are talking about collaborative journey, station, I think we are there as yet as an industry, and there are miles to go still. It's a good beginning. So I think looking forward for the elaboration of such initiatives, not just from AB and Bear, from IKEA as well. So let's see.
Yeah. Thanks, Gopika. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Aline and Amit, for joining us today for a wonderful session and the insights that you have shared with us. It is going to go a long way and help us develop our journey towards it. Wrapping up today's session, thank you so much.